Zalewski, palla in mezzo, colpi di gol, Cristiano!
From absolute defeat to the craziest scenes at full time, these are the 25 most epic comebacks in football history. And first off, it's the biggest comeback in Champions League history. In 2017, Barcelona was playing Mission Impossible in the round of 16. They lost the first leg away at PSG 4-0, and at the time they looked down and out, because no team in the competition's history had ever managed to turn around a 4-0 first leg defeat before. Yet somehow they still had hope of at least putting in effort in the second leg, and when they raced to a 3-0 lead after 50 minutes, it was game on. Everyone was tuned in to see what would happen. The away goal rule was still in play back then, and as soon as PSG scored, the game changed. Now, Barca had a problem. They had to score 3 more if they wanted to win. Neymar hadn't given up, popped 2 more to hit them within 1 more of an insane comeback, but time was running out. The ref was about to blow the whistle for full time when Barca went on one final attack. Even the goalie was in the PSG area trying to get on something, and against the odds, this happened. The most insane comeback in Champions League history was complete. Barca won 6-1 and PSG had just pulled off a bottle job. It's crazy how life can change in months though, because less than 1 year later, it was Barcelona who was on the receiving end. The Champions League quarterfinals against Roma this time, and after winning the first leg 5-2 at the Nou Camp, Barca was expected to progress. I mean, coming into the match at the Stadio Olimpico, it was simple. As long as they didn't concede 3 goals or more, or even scored in the process, they'd be through to the semis for the first time since 2015. That's what they thought would happen, but what eventually did happen was when the clock hit the 80th minute mark, something was cooking in Rome. The home team had a corner, the ball got swung in, and Kostas Manolas had over 60,000 people struggling to believe what they were watching. 3-0, and that's how it stayed until the end of the game. The match ended 5-5 on aggregate, and Roma progressed on away goals. Insane stuff. It took a team effort from Roma to knock out Barcelona, but in 2019, one man pulled off an epic comeback to silence his biggest haters. Juventus versus Atletico Madrid in the Champions League round of 16 was personal to Ronaldo. They lost the first leg 2-0, but it didn't end there. See, Ronaldo had caught wind of Atleti's coach Diego Simeone mocking him with a celebration. And to make it worse, a section of the Atleti fans started booing him after the game and directing personal insults at him. Ronaldo was pissed, and in the second leg it became his mission to silence these guys and send the old lady through. And what happened next was a vintage CR7 performance. A hat-trick to knock Juve out. Ronaldo, you're the man. Watching Ronaldo pull this one off was a first-time thing for the Juve fans, but anyone associated with Madrid knows he's been doing stuff like this since way back. 2016 now, and in the quarter-finals against Wolfsburg in the Champions League, Madrid was in a dangerous situation. Everyone expected them to qualify against Wolfsburg, but in that first leg in Germany, they lost 2-0, and the pressure was on coming into the second leg at the Bernabeu. But you see guys, they had Ronaldo, and he lives for this kind of moment. Once CR7 realized how big the problem was, he went bigger and turned clutch. Another Champions League hat-trick. Ronaldo 3, Wolfsburg 2. Madrid went on to qualify to the semis and win the whole thing. It's just what he does. He even has his fanboys replicating his solo comebacks like this in different leagues too. Erling Haaland's made it no secret he's a huge Ronaldo fan. And in 2020 he got to show the world what he's learned from watching CR7 over the years. Haaland had just completed a move to Borussia Dortmund in the January transfer window, and in his first game away against Augsburg, he came into a mission. 55 minutes gone and Dortmund was 3-1 down, and coach Lucien Favre brought on his new goal machine to try and salvage the game. But he did more than that. Haaland came on and changed it. He legit came onto his debut and scored a hat-trick in less than 30 minutes. Robot! For Augsburg though, that storyline looked familiar. Nothing's a given in football, including leading a game by 3 goals. But don't take it from me, just ask Sir Alex Ferguson, or the guys at Manchester United back in 2013. United were away at West Brom on the final day of the 2012-13 season, and for Sir Alex, this match was special. It was his last ever game as United manager, and the team wanted him to go out with a bang. So in what was a topsy-turvy game, the quality they had on the pitch allowed them to race to a 5-2 lead, with over a quarter of the game to play. And at that point, you'd probably have thought United would wrap this one up easy. But there was just something different about West Brom that season. They never gave up, and in the end, Sir Alex Ferguson couldn't believe his eyes when that final whistle went. They'd somehow blown a 5-2 lead and drawn the game 5-5. Whoa, unfamiliar territory for United. They'd rather be on the other side of comebacks like this, like the one they pulled off in 1999 to shock the whole world. United getting to the Champions League final that year was a miracle, but in the final itself it just seemed like this one would be too much to handle. Bayern didn't come around to play, took the lead early, and from there it was just utter domination. United continued to defend and soak in the pressure, but the Bayern attacks didn't stop. And when the clock hit that 90th minute mark, it looked like the Bayern team had concluded that one goal would be enough to win it. Big mistake. Seemed like United had been waiting for one slip-up all game, and Sir Alex could sense it too, because in the corner that followed, he had that look of someone expecting something to happen. And seconds later, boom, 1-1. And they weren't done. At this point, extra time was gonna be the next step in trying to decide the winner here. But Sir Alex wasn't prepared to do extra time, so he hit them with another sucker punch again. And less than 2 minutes later, had his baby-faced assassin complete the job. 2-1. United had stunned Bayern to win it. The greatest comeback in Champions League final history. Nah, it belongs to their rivals from the Northwest, Liverpool and the Miracle of Istanbul. In the 2005 Champions League final, by half-time, the Reds were getting cooked. They were 3-0 down to Milan, and that Milan team didn't look like they were going to stop anytime soon. Hernan Crespo was on fire with two, Kaká and Inzaghi were pulling the defense to shreds, and any Liverpool fan watching would have been forgiven for thinking the team was dead and buried here. But what happened in that second half, I don't even have the words. 3-3 by 90 minutes, no one saw that coming. The scoreline rattled the Milan team, and in the end, Liverpool went on to win it on penalties and complete the story. Still gives me goosebumps just talking about this one. Liverpool and European comebacks are a thing. Years later in 2016, they were at it again. This time it was in the Europa League, and the sub-twists in the semi-final versus Borussia Dortmund were just crazy. Liverpool's manager Jurgen Klopp was up against the team he'd made his name in Europe. And after drawing the first leg 1-1 at the Signal Iduna Park, no one could have predicted what would happen in the second leg. Liverpool went 2-0 down inside the opening 10 minutes, and away goals were still a thing, meaning they were in danger. Origi pulled one back for the Reds, but after Marco Reus added a third for Dortmund, it should have been game over. There's a reason I said it should have been. Any other team and they're out. At that point, Liverpool needed to score 3 more goals in 30 minutes to qualify. And, it happened. Comeback so good, it looked made up. They've pulled off some insane matches over the years, like this one here and the match against Milan, but personally I don't think anything beats that famous night in 2019. Liverpool versus Barcelona in the Champions League final, and over 2 years the world witnessed an epic. In the first leg, Messi stole the show. He scored a brace to give Barca a 3-0 lead coming into Anfield. Liverpool was completely up against it, and to make it worse, their star man, Mohamed Salah, got injured and was set to miss the second leg. Everything was pointing to the fact that they didn't stand any chance of qualifying. But that red team, they quite simply never give up. And in an absolute blockbuster of a game, they went from being on the brink of elimination to booking that final ticket in the city of Madrid. Corner taken quickly, Origi! Damn, what a scene! That 2018-19 season was insane when it came to comebacks. Just one night later, another English team had come back from the dead too. Spurs versus Ajax this time out, and Ajax was on a giant killing mission in the competition. They'd already knocked out the defending champions Real Madrid in the round of 16 and knocked out Juventus in the quarter-finals. So when they took a 2-0 lead against Spurs into the second leg at home at the Johan Cruyff Arena, it seemed like the job was done. Heck, some of the Ajax fans were even in party mode, checking final ticket prices and all. But the game wasn't done yet. Lucas Moura came off the bench and scored a brace to get Spurs back in it. And when that clock hit 90, everyone was in panic mode. Spurs only needed one more goal, but that Ajax defense looked like they'd done enough to see the game through until Lucas Moura hit them with a final sucker punch to win it. 3-2. Spurs were going to the final. Guess there are some teams you can never write off in a game, and Manchester City is one of them, especially after giving the world the most insane end to a title race in 2012. Coming into the final day of the season, City was on the brink of history. They hadn't won the league in over 44 years, and all they had to do was beat QPR on the final day, and they'd be champions. But it seems like the guys at QPR didn't read the script, because by the 60th minute mark, they were leading 2-1, and City's title hopes were fading out. As the game advanced, it got even worse. Manchester United had won their game against Sunderland, meaning if City didn't act fast, the title would go to United on the final day. And after Edin Dzeko scored to make it 2-2, City only needed one more, and with less than 2 minutes to play, one man stole the show. Aguero! What a moment! Seems like City lives for moments like this, man. In 2022, they were at it again. Another final day title race. City and Liverpool are going head-to-head for the league, and both teams knew they couldn't afford to slip up. City's game was against Aston Villa at the Etihad, and on their part, the only thing they needed to do once again was win, and they'd be champions. By half-time though, it was a different story. They were losing 2-0. Pep knew he needed to get his team going and give them that spark to change the game. So in the locker room just before they went out for the second half, he made them a promise. If we turn this around, I will show you guys how to subscribe to the best content on YouTube. Mr. Football, game on. City scored 2 and got back into the game, but it wasn't done yet. 10 minutes to play and they had to win now. Liverpool was beating Wolves in their game, meaning the pressure was on, and a few seconds later, Ilkay Gundogan took the roof off the Etihad. Another epic comeback. Another City title win on the final day. Sometimes though, moments like this are beautiful, not just for winning the title, it's about something else, like rescuing a club's status. Coming into match week 37 of the 2021-22 Premier League season, Everton's mission was simple. To stay in the Premier League, they had to win against Crystal Palace. But by half-time, they were 2-0 down. The home fans were worried sick. A defeat here would mean the final day pressure would be intense. And the players knew this too. So in the second half, they gave everything. Michael Keane scored to give them hope. Richarlison scored to make it 2-2, and at that point, anything could happen. The game was on the balance. Everton went looking for the winner. Demarai Gray hit the cross into the box. And as Dominic Calvert-Lewin got his head on the ball, the place exploded. The scenes at full time said everything. To battle from the brink like that and win it, epic. I don't know what the deal is with Palace and teams from Merseyside. Everton did one over them here, but in 2014. They upstaged a group of Reds on a title mission. The game that changed everything. Liverpool came into the match against Crystal Palace in 2014 knowing what was on the line. They were fighting for the title, and this was the game that could make or break their season. There was no excuse, nothing else but a win would be enough. And after taking a 3-0 lead, it looked like it was going to go down to the wire against City in the title race. But in the second half, the game imploded. And in the dying stages, the scoreline was quite simply unbelievable. Liverpool had let a 3-goal lead slip, drawn the game and lost the title. Ouch. It's an incredible thing to let a 3-goal lead slip, but letting 4 in, that's out of this world, like the guys at Milan did. Against the odds, Deportivo had made it to the quarter-finals of the Champions League that season, but it seems like this stage would be too much for them to cross. They lost the first leg 4-1 at the San Siro, and so many people thought the second leg at the Riazor was going to be a dead rubber game, because that Milan defense looked as strong as ever. The thing is though, at home, Deportivo backed themselves to at least get a result, and very soon it became more than that. By half-time, they had wiped out Milan's 3-0 lead, and in the second half, Deportivo's captain Fran put the seal on one of the most famous nights in the club's history. That fourth goal sealed the deal. Deportivo had come from 4 goals down to knock Milan out. Let that sink in. There's nothing better than a comeback on home turf. The Dortmund fans from 2013, pretty sure they understand this better than anyone else. Both Dortmund and Malaga were surprise candidates in the Champions League at that stage. It was a quarter-final game and no one expected both teams to be in it at that point. They drew the first leg in Spain, but the second leg was full of fireworks. Malaga took the lead in the 4th minute. Robert Lewandowski pulled his team back into the game 5 minutes before half-time, and in the second half the game seemed tense until the 82nd minute, when Malaga scored. And at that point it looked like it was gonna be the killer blow. Away goals was still a thing in the competition at the time, meaning Dortmund had to score 2 to qualify. But they didn't give up hope. Marco Reus scored in the 91st minute and Dortmund kept pushing. They threw everything at it, and 2 minutes later they sparked crazy scenes at the Signal Iduna Park. Can't even write this script. Dortmund came from the dead to win it and advance. Amazing. Malaga unfortunately came so close, man, just like Japan did in 2018, after they bottled what should have been the greatest result in the country's history. Japan versus Belgium in the World Cup round of 16, and Japan stunned everyone by taking a 2-0 lead against Belgium after 50 minutes. No one saw this coming, and now Belgium had under 30 minutes to get a response. Jan Vertonghen scored to pull one back. Then Marouane Fellaini nodded home to make it 2-2, and now the game was locked in. All that Japanese hard work needed to count for something, so they threw bodies forward looking for what they thought was going to be the winner. Big mistake. Belgium broke on the counter, and once Romelu Lukaku hit the dummy from the cross that came in, you just knew it was game over. Japan imploded and Belgium had qualified. An epic game with an incredible result reminds me of 2 Premier League rivals putting out an epic a few months back. Chelsea versus Manchester United last season, and this one had everything. The Blues went in front early and doubled their lead later thanks to Cole Palmer, but United came back from 2-0 down to make it 3-2 with less than 20 minutes to go. Comeback complete? Nah, the game was only getting started. Into the 99th minute now, and at this stage it was simply a question of game management from the United end. They only had to see the game out to win, but they somehow conceded a late penalty to make it 3-3. And seconds later, well, you won't believe it if I told you, so I'd just show you instead. Manchester United, the first team to bottle a comeback. To be fair though, they've had their string of amazing comebacks over the years, like the time in 2019 when they went to Paris and stunned the entire stadium. In the first leg at Old Trafford, United lost 2-0 and away goals were still in play, meaning for United to qualify they had to go to the Parc des Princes and score at least twice. Ouch. Still though, they went in confident. Lukaku put them in front early, but Juan Bernat levelled for PSG later, meaning United had to score 2 again. History was on PSG's side. No team had ever come from a 2-0 loss at home to win in the Champions League. But this United team had something out of the ordinary about them. Lukaku scored to put them back in front, and in the dying seconds of the game, Marcus Rashford did this. Look at Neymar's face, bro. It says everything. How the heck did PSG bottle this one? Had the same reaction back in 2011 after seeing Arsenal implode at St James's Park. Newcastle versus Arsenal in the league, and it turned out to be insane stuff. Theo Walcott opened the scoring for Arsenal in 44 seconds, and by half-time, Robin van Persie had scored twice. And Johan Giroud added another to make it 4-0 Arsenal. That should have been the game there, but guys, 45 minutes is a lot of time in football. Things can happen, and Arsenal got to witness that firsthand. Cheick Tioté completed the comeback to make it 4-4. Arsenal had imploded and lost the plot against Newcastle. You see guys, when it comes to comebacks on the continent, there's one team you can never write off in European competition, because they always find a way to come back from the dead. Real freaking Madrid. In 2022, they looked dead and out. In the match against Manchester City in the semi-finals, after losing the first leg 4-3, they had a job to do. to at the Bernabeu, but City was playing on a different level. And with less than 20 minutes to go, Riyad Mahrez thought he scored the goal to send City to the final. The thing is, Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti live for these moments. Away goals were out of the competition too, meaning Madrid only had to score 2, but by the 89th minute, with the score still being 1-0 and 5-3 in aggregate to City, they had a 1% chance of qualification at that point. And apparently it was enough. Rodrigo's brace stunned City to send the game to extra time, and Benzema added a third to complete the comeback. City had knocked out Madrid from out of nowhere. Think this was a fluke? They were at it 2 years later. This one was arguably even tougher. Against Bayern Munich in the same stage of the competition, the first leg ended in a 2-2 draw, and Madrid had a job to do in the second leg. Alphonso Davies scored to put them in front, and by minute 98, Madrid looked buried. They were literally hanging on to the game by seconds. But once again, they never need much time. It's almost as if no one ever sees them coming, because I'm still finding it hard to believe this happened. Joselu scored a brace to send Madrid to the final and knock Bayern out. Deep that. To the top 2 now, and it was the German shutdown of 2012 that stunned the whole world. Germany versus Sweden in World Cup qualification, and at home in Berlin, Germany was expected to win, but I don't think anyone had them easily beating a Sweden side with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. 4-0 up against their opponents in the second half. Miroslav Klose had scored a brace alongside goals from Mesut Ozil and Per Mertesacker to make it 4. And the game should have been over. I said should have been, but somehow Sweden refused to give up. Zlatan scored to make it 4-1. Minutes later, Mikael Lustig added a second to make it 4-2. And with 15 minutes left to play, Johan Elmander scored to make it 4-3. Game on. The Germans woke up, tightened up at the back, and looked to close the game out. But Sweden didn't put in all that hard work to just give up like that. And in the 93rd minute, Rasmus Elm completed the comeback. 4-4. Absolute scenes. Should have been the greatest comeback on the list, but at number 1, no one's beating that game down at Reading. When Reading faced Arsenal at home in the League Cup in 2011, it should have been a normal game, but instead it turned out to possibly be the game of the decade. Arsenal were expected to win, but with 35 minutes gone, they were down 4-0. Theo Walcott scored before the break to reduce the goal margin to 3, and in the second half he added a second with Olivier Giroud, and Laurent Koscielny scoring to make it 4-4. What a game, but they still weren't done. Chamakh scored to put Arsenal in front 5-4, and Reading levelled again to make it 5-5. It was raining goals that night, but Arsenal at that point knew they needed to seal the game. So they scored 2 more to make it 7-5, and end it. What a match! If you think these moments are crazy, wait till you see the time Messi cheated his way to winning a football game, or Ronaldo did a crossbreed with the NBA. The 25 cheating moments in football. And you can watch all of that by clicking that next video.